I created something several years ago called the New Year's Evolution. And I created it just for that, because here's what happens is, it's that time of year where people set New Year's resolutions. Truth of the matter is, matter of fact, Deepak Chopra said this years ago, and I remember this, and it's true, that 80% of the New Year's resolutions that people make are the same ones they made last year. And so, which means they didn't do it, and then B, most of them didn't even get started on it, because most of us make our New Year's resolutions like we go, okay, I'm going to lose weight, and that's it. We don't have a plan, we're willing to do it. I'm going to make money. I'm going to do that kind of thing. And so what I realized was, I learned this again through process. I created something called the New Year's Evolution to really get people to do that. Here's the things that you'll want. It's not just one thing, because, I call it being wealthy. We all want to be wealthy. Wealthy to me means being healthy, happy, and financially abundant. And all of the subsets that come underneath there, love and relationships and things that go along with that. And so that's a big moving van full of stuff, So it's important to at least once break it down and go, this is the specific thing that I want to take. I don't want to take this one. I don't want to take that. And spend the time. You could take a couple days, but it's worth it to do it, because then once you've done it, you don't have to do it again for at least another year.
You've met a lot of successful people, and I know when success is a very broad word, and it can be defined in many different areas. Some people can be successful in one thing and not in another, but people that seem to have it figured out in the definition, you've just healthy, wealthy, happy. Mm-hmm. What do you think they have, or they're doing? Are they born with some gene that kind of helps that, or do you notice these patterns within those people in your own personal experience?
In my personal experience, we're all born with the same gene. We're all born with the same stuff. Is somebody that is 6'7" more predisposed to be a better basketball player than me? Maybe so. I'm 5'9", but there's plenty of 6'7" people that'll never play basketball. They can never do anything. Okay, so what we're all born with is, I call it magnificence, and magnificence is to magnify the essence of who we are, and that essence of who we are, that spark of electricity, that thing that makes us alive. All of us have. It's what we do with it that makes the difference. And to answer your question, the ones that are, again, it's a broad description, but successful, healthy, wealthy, and financially abundant, are the ones that generally have some, like I said, regimen or ritual or something that they do or have done that have allowed them to think differently than the average person, and do differently than the average person, and feel different than the average person.
Right. So that comes on then to an important question, and we spoke about it a little bit on our last podcast, but it's almost like, well, where do you start? So it's a new year. You're setting your goals. And I know you're a big state person, because I've been jumping up and down, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, shaking my ass and that. But where's a good first place to start? Where, okay, last year weren't great. New sheet of paper. What's a good? Yeah. Where do you go?
Preparation. First off, start with relax. Relax, because most people haven't figured it out yet that the sun comes up every single day. I promise you it's going to come up tomorrow. I bet everything I have that the sun is going to come up in the morning. That tomorrow is going to come, and most people haven't figured out that they have already figured out how to live to get everything done, so they're still alive every single day. And I know that sounds simple, but just to relax and go, hey, I'm already successful on some level. I just want to be more. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as we do that, then here's what happens. We have, in our brain will release certain chemicals. If we're stressed, it's going to release cortisol, which makes adrenaline go, which makes all this stuff that makes us stressed and makes us unhealthy, makes us worried and all those things. And that's going to keep on going. But as soon as we relax and we're grateful and we go, okay, well, at least I have this. This is great. Let me look around what I do have. No matter what, I'm still on this side of the dirt. Okay. And as soon as we relax, then we get to ask the second question. What do I really want? What do I really want? And I say to people, what you write is what you invite. What you don't is what you won't. And I don't mean type it into your iPad or your phone or anything like that. I mean, write it down on a sheet of paper.
Really? Is there a difference between typing and writing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't get me started. And just make a list of everything that you want. Don't go, oh, I can't have that because that's too expensive. There's not enough time or anything. Just list everything that you want. Because what's happening is what you're doing is people live in a state of overwhelm. Overwhelm is just having too much stuff in your head at one time. And then the emotions attached, especially too much emotionally filled stuff. But get it out of your head and put it on a piece of paper. In a journal or whatever. And then it's out of your head and it's there. And then you get to look at it and it's out of you and it's on a piece of paper. And then you go, okay, well, this is the most important. This is next important. This is most important. I get to have it all. But this is the things I'm going to work on first. And what happens is the process, because I'm a big process guy, the process makes you think differently. And then when you think differently, you feel differently. And when you feel differently, you do differently. That way you simplify everything. So those two, just doing those two steps alone, let alone the rest of it, which is planning and things like that, allows you to feel like you can and will do it versus going, oh, I want to make more money, but I don't know how. There's that Elon Musk out there. He's so far ahead of me. I can never do that. I can do that. And then we go down that rabbit hole that causes us to feel like crap. And then guess what? It's easier to eat cake and scroll through your phone.
Yeah, that's right. So I like that. That brings up a question for me, and we talked about it last time where you gave a nice story about riding a horse, and it's like, look, because I was like, well, what if you don't know your aim? It's like, look, I want this financial success. I haven't got it at the moment, but it's like, well, what am I going to do to get me there? I know what I want. That's quite clearly, I've got it on my board, but there's a gap between what you want. Are you going to work for a company? Are you going to create a company? If you create a company, what are you going to sell? And you said to me last time, look, just get on a horse. Doesn't matter what horse, you can always get off it.
Yeah.
But, if, for example, it's like, look, I've been riding this bloody horse for 2 or 3 years now, and I have no idea where it's going. How long do you ride the horse, and when do you know that it's time to change?
That's a really great question. And the answer to that is to check in to see how it's going, because most people get on their horse and just ride versus checking in. Like, again, when do we make New Year's resolutions? Once a year, New Year's Eve, right? But instead, when I check in every single week to see how that horse is riding, to see if I like it, to see if it's getting closer to my destination, my goal, my outcome, to see how I feel about it. And you'll know it doesn't feel good. This is where I thought you were going to ask is, what do you do in the meantime? And what do you do if you don't know what your goal is? Yeah. The answer is help somebody. I know that sounds altruistic and unicorns and crystals and things like that. But the truth of the matter is, I heard this saying the other day that hurt people that are hurting inside, that are scared, they're afraid, they hurt other people. They don't do as much for other people. But healing people help people. And so as long as you start to recognize that, wait a minute, and you can do it the other way around. You go, I'm going to go out and I'm going to, like it's Christmas time, or when it's Christmas time or whatever, it doesn't have to wait to that. Go do something and help somebody out. Learn something and teach somebody. I always say to people, if you learn anything from me, not that I'm the end all and be all or so wise, but if you learn anything from me, pay it forward. Tell somebody else. You don't have to tell them I taught you. You don't have to give me any credit at all. That's not what I'm looking for. But if you go to somebody and you go, hey, here's what I learned. If we just put a smile on our face, it makes our brain release dopamine, which makes us feel better. And if we just do that enough times, it's human dynamics. We'll get better, we'll feel better, and all of those things. If you just teach people what you know and just tell people what you know, whether they believe it or not, you're putting it out there and you're doing something and you're helping other people. It feels so good. And then what happens is that's another great distraction. I need to think of a new word. Let's call it prostraction, something like that. Something that gets you to look where you want to go versus where you don't want to go.